Hello guys, welcome to CloudBhai. In today's sessions, I'm going to discuss how to configure synchronous streaming replications in PostgreSQL version 12. Okay, as you can see in this particular diagram, in the PostgreSQLs there are mostly two type of replications: the physical and logical. Physical is where the wall is there, the write head log. So in the physical replications also, normally the replication can be done using either by log shipping or by streaming. So in today's sessions I am going to discuss about the streaming. Now with the streaming replications, standby or the replication slave database servers is configured to connect to the master primary server, which streams like the wall request to the standby as they are generated without waiting for the wall file to be filled. So by default this is kind of asynchronous. That means it takes some kind of time to after a transaction has been committed on the primary server. That means there could be a very small delay, but I am also going to discuss about the some kind of synchronous approach, like by putting some kind of additional parameters in SQL.conf file, okay, in the master server. Okay, let's proceed. So this is something the high level steps I am going to discuss today. The first steps, I already launched EC2 machines. I am going to install the PostgreSQL 12. The second steps I am going to configure in the master database, like the parameters we put in the pghba.conf and the postgresql.conf. In the third steps, mostly I'll discuss about how to take a base backup using the pg base backup command and configure the secondary database, secondary or the standby. You can see the standby as slave database. And the fourth steps will be testing some kind of PostgreSQL streaming replications. Okay. So for the master primary, as I said, I already launched EC2 machines. I am going to quickly install the PostgreSQL 12 version. Then we'll update the two configuration files, and we'll also create a replication user which will replicate from standby to and it will take the replications and it will copy the wall from master to standby. Okay. So this is my EC2 machine. I already logged into my machine. Now in the next steps I am quickly installing PostgreSQL 12. I already shown in my previous videos how to install PostgreSQL 12. So nothing to discuss about the same thing. So I am going to quickly install the PostgreSQL 12 now. Okay. Now my PostgreSQL 12 version 12 is installed. The next steps I am going to update the two primary configurations files in my master server. Okay, before updating this the pghba.conf and postgresql.conf file in the master database level, I want to create my secondary, that means the standby database server, as because I need the IP address so that I can append I can update the pghba.conf for in the primary level, in the master level. So since it is a EC2 box, I am going do a very simple way. I'll be creating a image and I'll launch the EC2 machine so that the standby would have the same installations and the file system, everything will be get copied. Okay. So what I'll do that, this is my primary action, image, say EC2 standby. Image is now ready. Now I am going to launch the instance. We put the same security group. Okay, I'm now looking for only the public IPv4. This is going to be used. Okay, now I'll first I log into the PostgreSQL.conf. Okay, the first things I am changing the listen address. You can put a particular listen address, but I'm putting star just for the sake of this video. Port is default, so I'm not going to change. Synchronous replications, there will be two things required. One is the synchronous commit should be on. It is uncommented. It is commented, so I remove the hash, so it is uncommented now. Okay, archive mode, it's a good practice to make archiving, but just for this video it's not required because I'm not physically shifting any kind of wall logs. There is another disadvantage of doing this replication this way, because if the primary got a crash, the replication would be stopped. So I am hoping this is kind of a, my primary won't get crashed. So here the wall records to the standby, it streams to the wall records to the standby as they are generated without waiting to the wall file to be filled. So here archive mode, archive command is not required. The restore command is mostly required if you are doing the lob shifting in the standby mode. Since I am not doing it, it's also master, it's not required here. The only the thing is that for the replications level, max wall senders, you can put it there, but it's not a required things here. Wall sender timeout, this is mostly required for the log shifting, but it doesn't harm. Replication slots, okay, slots are required, but default is okay for us, but I'll put as a 10. So only thing is request for the synchronous replications is in a master server, that is synchronous standby names. I don't have any names, I will put a star. If you have a name, you can put the name as well. Okay, so the second things, now I am going to change something on the PGHBA-conf for connections. Okay, so only things need to be required here, because I am not using any kind of tools and all these things, so local IPv4 connection is not changing, is not needed. The only things need to be changed here, that the replications. So before changing these things, another thing I need to do, I need to create a replications user. So I am going to the Postgres SQL. So in the Postgres, I am going to create a replication user called Repl user, and I'll put in the password. My user is created. Now I'll go back to PGHBA-conf. Now here database replication type is host, username I'll put the username, and I'll put the IP address of my secondary machine. Okay, I'll copy this IP address and I'll change the method as MD5 so that it asks for the username password. Okay, I need to bounce the services. There may be some typo somewhere. PGHBA-conf. So here this problem. Okay, it started. Earlier I tried to I think status, so I have to restart these things. That's okay. The next step, what I'm gonna do, so my master primary database configuration is done, what I did, I launch an EC2 machines, install the PostgreSQL 12, update the PGHBA-conf with this connection info of standby database server, and the PostgreSQL for enabling synchronous applications. Okay, I also create the replications user, which I'll update in the PGHBA.conf. The next steps, I'm going to perform the steps, my step standby database configurations. I already take it, since it is EC2 machines, I already taken a image and then relaunch, so my PostgreSQL is already installed. The next steps, what I'm gonna do, that I'll take some make a base backup using this PGA base backup, and I'll do some maybe I'll create a then I start the standby server, and I will also check some of the configurations, and thereafter I will check this replication slots from PG replication slots, and show that everything should be fine for replications to be tested. Okay, so this is my standby machine, so I'll create a new window. Okay, so this is my standby machine. So I already logged in as a Postgres. The first things, I know that there is no services running, but I am again stopping the services if something is running. Okay, sorry, I already installed as a root. Okay, now log into the Postgres. What I am going to do, I am copying this PG data directory into a backup directory. I'm deleting these things, and because for a definite purpose, I want to create a base backup using this PG base backup utility. So if you see that PG base backup, so this is the PG base backup utility, and there are usage. So some of the specific uses I am going to do that. I'll be use this R option, that is write recovery conf. X options, wall method is stream, and then I also use this C options, clear slot. S options, and I'll be providing the slot name. V option for the verbose. Okay, and definitely I'll be using this H option for the host names, and port options for the ports and everything. Port is maybe if I'll use the default, I don't need to use the port options. Okay, the command, this is the command I am going to use, because you know that I already removed anything, so there is nothing called varlib PGSQL 12 data, so I am going to create it for that. And this is the this is for the host level. This is something I am creating using this the host is the primary, so what it will do, that anticipations that it will create that everything from the PGA base backups from the host, and so it will get copied. And the host user is REPL user, and the other options argument options I already used. Okay, -p is a progress, so progress informations, and then small v is a verbose, capital R is a write recovery conf, and capital X is wall method, it's definitely the stream, and C is create slots, and slot name is standby. So only the things I need to change, I have to put the primary or master database host name, so I'll get it from here. I will leave this one, the first one. Okay, I'll take the IP address, and then I'll put it here. So everything looks good. Password, this is the REPL user password, so it's created. So now I'll check what is created. You can see there's all this thing created. Now after the base backup process is done, you can see there are two important some configuration files, then the file structures, and there is a two very important files is created. One is the standby.signal. It's a 0 byte, but it's good, it's required. Otherwise, mostly if the file is not there, we used to create this file using the touch command. The second is the PostgreSQL.auto.conf, and here this the connection settings are appended to this particular file. If I open the file, you understand. You can see that the primary connection info, it's taken the input from the PG base backup inputs, where the host is the primary host, the username, passwords, everything is got appended, and the slot name is also appended. Another thing I just want to tell you here, in this PostgreSQL standby mode, there is a kind of two kind of configurations here. One is called a warm standby. The warm standby configurations it offers the high availability. So it's based on the parameters. If there is any parameter called warm standby parameter, hot standby parameter is set to off, mostly it is a warm standby. Here there it's only works as for high availability. That means it's kind of only the moments away from the full availability once it has been activated. As a result, this is called a warm standby configuration. For the hot standby parameter, if it is set on, which is default value, along with this high availability, it is also can be used for the read-only queries, and that's why it's called a hot standby server. Before going into the actual testing of this streaming replications, I want to check this the slots from my primary database server. Okay, I'll go to the primary. This is my primary. Extend display PG replication slots. You can see the slot name is showing, slot type is physical, and the restart LSN is whatever. Okay, so the next things, if I'll go to the my PPT, it says about the once the connection is established successfully between the master and the standby, we can see the world receiver process in the standby servers with the status of streaming through PG stat world receiver view. So I'll check in the standby this one. So this is my standby. Okay, before doing that I have to restart. I have not restarted anything because I have to start these things. You remember I stopped this thing, but I have not started. So now I'm good. You can see the status is streaming and the slot name is standby. You can see the connections info, everything looks good. The next steps, a corresponding world sender process in the master primary server with the state of streaming, and the state sync is async. It can be checked through the predistat replications view. Since we put let me go back to the productions and run the master and run these things. This is my master. Okay, you can see that this is Replication users, and you can see the world receiver application name, whatever the client port, and it's streaming. And sync priority 1. The only the difference you can see here, sync date is async, and here my sync date is sync, because you remember that I have configured the two additional parameters just for so you can see that the sync date state is sync is because of the I have updated two parameters in my masters, the PostgreSQL.conf to make it synchronous streaming replications. One is synchronous commit, one is synchronous standby names. So since I put these two additional parameters, and that's my sync state is now synchronous, it's not asynchronous anymore. Now ideally this is, if I'll put anything like create database, so if I'll put a create database test and I'll check L, you can say just ask me put some more. I'll create some table and insert some rows. Okay, now I'll insert some rows. Let me see. You can see that the sales table has come. Select start from sales. Okay, let me delete these things. Delete a row. Okay, where customer ID is equal to 2420. Okay, delete from cells where cast id is equal to 2420. Good. Check again. You can see it's 1 only. Previously it was 2. It's done because it's replicated, because the delete statement is already replicated. The last one, what I'm gonna do, I'm just drop the table. Cells cascade. Okay, select start from cells. No. Okay, so this concludes in today's video. So just before ending this video, I just want to have a quick recap. What I did, I had 2 replications, 2 PostgreSQL machine. One is master, one is standby. Both are in the EC2 machine in the Red Hat, and I have used the version 12. So on the master level, there is 2 kind of replications in the physical replications. One is log shipping and one is streaming. So we have done the streaming here. Streaming is done by the the wall records is done automatically from master to standby before the wall is failed. So it's very good for the streaming purposes, but there is only the disadvantage. If something got crashed in the productions or the primary or the master, whatever you say, it could not be replicated to the standby. Okay, but we assume that nothing is going to be happen in the my master, so this streaming is good. In the primary, in the master side, you don't have to change anything, because the only the thing is need to be changed for the listen address, which you can put the address of your suitable address, but for just sake of this thing I put a star. And then for the synchronization, it is for the asynchronous to synchronous, I put the 2 additional parameters which I already mentioned. The PGHBA conf, you have to put this the standby IP there, and you have to also change the change the connection details, and then you have to create a productions user, REPL users, which should be used for the replication purposes. Then we'll create a standby machines with a standby PostgreSQL, which I did through a image copy here, because it's easier for me. This is EC2, and then we do the configure the base backup, and in the base backup we use the different arguments which is used for the streaming replications. Once the backup is completed, you can see there is a new data directory where there is a some configuration file. We have not changed any configuration file. What we have discussed, what is on standby and what is warm standby, and then we do some kind of replication testing. So it is fairly easy and it's very easy to configure. So I encourage you to perform these things in your own lab machine. Okay, so thank you.